Hello and welcome to today's quickfire match preview of tonight's EFL Cup clash. It's the Carabao Cup between Newcastle United and AFC Bournemouth. This is Back of the Net. My name's Sam Davis, and yes, my throat and voice really is this hoarse. Here's what's coming up. We've got the latest from Dean Court in what's been a very busy news week once again at the Vitality. We've got all the build-up, stats and trivia ahead of tonight's game. There's the opposition view from the GOAT, the legend that is Adam Pearson. And we also get a Cherries perspective as well from Tom Jordan. Plus the team news and predictions as well. So, full disclosure, I'm not going to the game tonight. As you can tell, I sound pretty hoarse. We do pride ourselves at Back of the Net of going to every single game, but illness, together with the fact that the game just 9 days ago was moved from the Wednesday to the Tuesday, it just made travel plans very tricky indeed. Of course, I understand the reasons for moving the game, so it's been moved from a day where ambulance drivers are striking to the day when nurses are striking. Either way, they felt fit that in Tyneside it was best to have the game on the Tuesday. But for fans like myself and others that had pre-booked accommodation that you can't get refunds on, then you're having to look for travel options again for the Tuesday. They seemed to be more forthcoming for the Wednesday, so the only option for the Tuesday was the Travel Club, which was a mad price of £48. Thought they might subsidise it, didn't happen, therefore I just thought, you know what, with this illness as well, sadly, we're not going, but we're still going to provide matchday content. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. We would truly appreciate your support. And Newcastle fans, well, we've got plenty of content on your club on the Premier League show with myself and Tom Jordan, which we drop every single week. You'd be a fool not to subscribe. So yeah, because of illness, and it's not just that really, it's I think most Bournemouth fans feel that this game is a little bit of a non-event really. I think all eyes and thoughts are on the Premier League match on the day after Boxing Day as we play Chelsea. So this match seems somewhat of an unwelcome distraction. Whilst we've had some warm weather training over the break, we haven't really played anyone of significance, we've got to say. Therefore, my assumption is probably that this game is going to be treated as a way for players to get fit and sharp ahead of the bread and butter on the 27th. That said, we've got to be wary and mindful that it is Gary O'Neill's first full game in charge, no more interim. Therefore, he'll certainly want to start as he means to go on. Newcastle United, I think they're going to be treating the cup competitions really seriously this season, both the Carabao and the FA Cup. And I think it's shown by the fact that this is a sellout against little old Bournemouth, which is absolutely crazy. I think we all know that the Geordies are mad for their football. Even 28,000 turned out for a women's game at St James's Park recently. But I think they really do see this as an opportunity to get some silverware. And look, there are people that have been talking about top 10 and then the season's progressed and they're top 7, top 6 and top 4 as well. I think regardless, I think they would love to get some silverware this season, and why not in the Carabao Cup? Now, in terms of recently, they've been fresh from a warm weather training camp in Saudi Arabia where it was a stunning 5-0 win over Al Hilal, really good performance. They also had a friendly against Rayo Vallecano on Saturday as well, they won 2-1. They've also played Middlesbrough in a friendly as well, and in the game last Saturday they had a mixture of experienced players including Nick Pope, Kieran Trippier, but also some younger players as well. So yeah, regardless of who they put out there today, they're going to have a strong squad. You look at their options and really the depth is pretty comprehensive really in the Newcastle squad. But we're going to tackle that later on, and Adam Pearson, I'm sure, will be able to fill us in. But in terms of AFC Bournemouth news, well, of course, if you're a Newcastle fan and you're watching this, not quite Saudi Arabian levels, but our club down on the south coast, we have a takeover of our own with American Bill Foley, the new chairman of the club. There is also a stake from Michael B. Jordan as well, which is giving us massive exposure. I did see on Twitter, there was a tweet about 3 weeks ago doing a league table of each Premier League club's most popular tweets of the year. I think Bournemouth was like 17th, and that tweet was all about the promotion when we beat Nottingham Forest. Only a few weeks later though, Michael B. Jordan tweets, blows that out of the water. He can get us some huge exposure and maybe a few new American fans as well. But yeah, we've got a new owner. We're going to be spending in January, not so big, but the training academy is being built now at Camford Magna, which promises to be state of the art. More on that later. But in terms of recruitment, well, it's been announced yesterday that Gary O'Neill has confirmed the arrival of Tim Jenkins from Liverpool's academy. He'll be first team coach at AFC Bournemouth. The futures of Tommy Elphick and Sean Cooper are yet to be finalised, but we do know that Steve Fletcher is staying on as part of the backroom team. But Jenkins, he was assistant coach of the under-18 squad, and they're currently 4th in their league, and he also worked as an analyst as well. Now, Gary O'Neill, of course, himself had a stint at Liverpool, so would have often crossed paths with his new colleague at Anfield, I'm absolutely certain. And now, Jenkins had been at Liverpool for 10 years, and previously he worked with the under-23 squad whilst Neil Critchley was in charge, and he's going to be alongside Gary O'Neill on the touchline tonight at St James's Park. Now, in terms of our new training facility, we're going to get some footage of it hopefully in the not too distant future, but on afcb.co.uk, Junior Stanislas was quoted as saying that Cherries' new multi-million-pound training complex will be of great benefit to the club for years to come. He recently visited the facility for the first time to watch his son Alex play for the Cherries under-11s against Cheltenham Town. Now, whilst the club's initial plans were delayed due to the COVID pandemic, work started on the first phase of the development in the summer, and although it's still in its early stages of construction, some of the academy age groups are now using an outdoor artificial pitch, with Stanislas's first impressions being very positive. He told AFCB.co.uk, the infrastructure and the facilities are going to be amazing for them, and it's great for the academy players to be part of a bright future. So on to tonight's game, and it's the first game back after the World Cup break, 4th round of the League Cup, and after our 4-1 win over to Everton in the last round, I mean, could you have picked a worse match to play? Newcastle United, the longest journey away on a Tuesday night. Of course, it's the second time we've played them this season, and the second time we've had a reunion with our former boss Eddie Howe. I'm not going to make it all about Eddie, however, that of course we know was a 1-1 draw. The Magpies' journey to this round of the Cup, well, it started away in the second round against League Two side Tranmere Rovers. Newcastle United won 2-1 with their goals from Lascelles and Chris Wood. In the third round, they were drawn at home against Crystal Palace. That was 0-0, but then they went on to win the Pens 3-2. Now for Bournemouth, Eddie Howe, of course, is notoriously not a fan of the Cups. I presume his perspective on that is going to be very different now he's at Newcastle. When I say not a fan, I think he just paid lip service for it. Sometimes he didn't even attend the press conferences which previewed the game. That's how much he really didn't bother. And of course, there are many ways you can understand why. His priority as a small club like Bournemouth had to be the league and keeping as many players as injury-free as possible. The furthest Newcastle United have been in the League Cup was the final in 1976. On the way to that final, they beat Southport, Bristol Rovers, QPR, Notts County and Spurs, and their opponents in the final at Wembley were Manchester City. However, ultimately, they came away empty-handed. But how's this season gone so far for Newcastle? Well, we caught up with general nice guy, GOAT and Newcastle United YouTuber Adam Pearson.
Tomorrow night, Newcastle take on Bournemouth in the last 16th of the Carabao Cup. A real buzz for both teams going into this match. Well, for Newcastle, first off, we are currently 3rd in the Premier League here. We've lost once in the last 4 months. Now, for me, I've just came back from Saudi Arabia last week. Newcastle had a training match over there against Al Howe. Of course, with our Saudi Arabia owners as well, we're trying to push the club as hard as possible over there. And it's been a real good experience. I came back now. Newcastle had quite a few matches during the World Cup break to make sure our players are match fit. And I think for tomorrow, it's a great opportunity to obviously to show the fans what we missed out on. But as for Bournemouth, though, they just had their takeover, real buzz around the area. I've heard there's supposed to be 1,000 Bournemouth fans at the gate tomorrow, which is really good considering it was meant to be a Wednesday night, but got changed to a Tuesday night because of the NHS strike. So to still see 1,000 people travel up from Bournemouth this close to Christmas, I think is incredible support, so well done to you. As for the match tomorrow, I'm not expecting it to be a good game, to be honest. I think it's going to be a really cagey affair, low score match. I can't see there being more than 2 goals in the game, to be honest. If there's more than 2 goals, I'll be shocked. But I think it'll either be 1-0 either way, or it's going to finish 1-1 and go to a penalty shootout. Newcastle in the last one against Crystal Palace drew 0-0 and then won in pens. So I think it's going to be a very similar match against Bournemouth tomorrow. Really cagey affair. Both teams, of course, trying their hardest to win. But I just think it's going to be one of those sort of games where it's just nerves. But I'm going to go 1-0 Newcastle, of course, and Newcastle bias. And to be fair, I think the pressure is probably on Newcastle a little bit more because in the league, you expect us to finish guaranteed Europe. I'll be shocked if we don't. And as for Bournemouth now, I think your focus is probably more on the league. To the cup, you can kind of relax a bit more in. But I think for Newcastle, it's about winning every single match. So the pressure's going to be on. But yeah, 1-0 I'm going to go for. Good luck to everyone tomorrow. But of course, Newcastle, I've got to back my boys. So fingers crossed we get ourselves into the last 8.
Yeah, cheers, Adam. Check out the description below to go to his channel. Absolute superb YouTube channel. And in terms of the Newcastle United team news, expect to see some changes from the normal league side. They did this against Palace in the last round. They've also got a number of injuries as well, including Alexander Isak as well, who's, of course, their marquee £60 million signing. I think if I was going to predict a team for Newcastle tonight, it'd probably be Pope, Trippier, Lascelles, Botman, Matty Targett, Willock, probably Sean Longstaff, Joe Linton, Almiron will probably get a game, Wood and Murphy as well. I think St Maximin, I think whilst a lot of Newcastle fans would probably like to see him, he did pick up an injury or a slight niggle in the last game, so it remains to be seen as to whether he will be in action. In terms of AFC Bournemouth team news, well, all things seem pretty good apart from a bug that's going around the camp, and if it's anything like I've had, I've been shivering, sweats, you name it, it's absolutely rank. Not COVID though, which is a result. But Lloyd Kelly is back in full training for AFCB. David Brooks and Neto have also returned to training on the grass as well. And as I say, yeah, the squad's been struggling with a nasty virus over the last week or so. You know what? I got it after the Chris Billham-Smith fight at the Bic on Saturday night, and just concerned to see that Jaden Anthony and Jay-Z were there. There were probably others as well. Hopefully those two are all right. But as a result of it, there will be some late calls ahead of the game tonight. One thing that I sort of noticed was that, of course, in the Premier League Cup last night, AFC Bournemouth played QPR, doing really well actually up until the last few minutes where they conceded 2 late goals. Lost 2-0 to QPR, but the development side, which is usually under 21s, was very, very young. It was basically the under 18s, which makes me think we may be keeping a number of those players on standby or be utilising them for tonight's game. And look, if the last round of the Cup, of course, when we played Everton, we used a couple towards the end, but against Norwich, we certainly did utilise a lot of youth. And maybe if there is a bug going round, then perhaps it would be that we will be using the development squad players for this game. But O'Neill does say that he's going to be going strong, so that is a good thing. In terms of Lloyd Kelly, Gary Neal said Lloyd's done really well to get back so quickly and he's been training well. It doesn't look like he's been away, but he does need game time. Chris Mepham and Kiefer Moore both come back from the World Cup fine, so that was a very pleasing aspect as well. So yeah, it looks like we're going to see a fair few changes for tonight's game, so it'll be interesting to see what happens on the pitch. To get a Bournemouth perspective of what he thinks about the game, let's chat to Tom Jordan, legend.
Club football is back. Get in. Feels really strange that we've got a game, really does. I don't know why, but this kind of Winter World Cup has just made everything feel a bit strange and thrown everything out of sync. But yeah, it's been weirdly been really nice from a Bournemouth perspective because we managed to get the new owners in. And it's quite exciting times. Sounds like our captain's going to be back as well, Lloyd Kelly. So, yeah, definitely positives. Looking forward nearly in that January window where we'll probably have to strengthen a little bit as well. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really haven't, to be honest, thought about how we're going to set up, what players are going to be available. Obviously, I've heard there's been some sort of virus spread around the squad. So, there might be some that are not well enough to play. But I think apart from Neto and Brooks, we're not sure about anyone else, but they're the only two definitely out. As I say, Lloyd Kelly's back. which will be big, captain. And Moore and Mepham, who obviously went to the World Cup, came back pretty sharpish. So, yeah, I can't imagine, if I'm honest, that we've been in Newcastle in the league and surprised everyone, including myself, to get a point. I'll be very surprised if we went to Newcastle and surprised everyone again. Having said that, who knows, magic of the cup and all that, we might be able to do it once more, but I think it'll be a very difficult game, to be honest. Let's just come out of it unscathed, good performance, and then kick on into the league just after Christmas with, you know, a few really difficult games, starting with Chelsea. So regardless, absolutely buzzing it's back, buzzing. Up the Cherries.
Superb stuff from Tom there. The referee for tonight is Peter Banks. He officiated us last in the Premier League on our first game of the season against Aston Villa, which was a 2-0 win. So, yeah, pleasing stuff for that. But there you go. That is this quick fire preview. We're going to be back to our regular, normal previews when, one, I've overcome this illness, but two, we're into the games that we really care about. There's no stream for tonight's game, so it's the dulcet tones of the commentary team on BBC Radio Solent that will see you through the game for tonight. But we will have some reaction and some video on this channel to see if Bournemouth can pull a rabbit out of the hat, because I think most people were expecting Newcastle United to get a result tonight. I'm going for 3-1 to Newcastle. I know it's pessimistic, but that's what I'm thinking. If you're a Newcastle fan, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. And if you're a Bournemouth fan that isn't subscribed, what are you doing? Looking forward to being back with our regular content very soon. But until the next one, up the Cherries.